When you hear the title, The Invisible Man, you probably picture something pretty specific, right? Well, what if I told you that exact same title belongs to two of the most iconic, yet completely different novels ever written? One is this classic, terrifying sci-fi story, and the other, it's a deep, powerful commentary on society. Okay, let's get into this. So it begs the question, what is an invisible man? I mean, is it just someone you literally can't see with your own eyes? Or is it something, I don't know, deeper, more unsettling? As we're about to see, the answer to that question really depends on which book you happen to pick up. To get to the bottom of it, we're looking at two masterpieces. On one hand, you've got H.G. Wells's scientific nightmare from way back in 1897, where a man literally uses his own genius to erase himself from view. But then, on the other hand, there's Ralph Ellison's crushing social reality from 1952, where a man is made invisible not by some formula, but by the very people all around him. Let's start with the one you probably know best, H.G. Wells and his unforgettable character, Griffin. This is really where the idea of a scientist's ambition, totally disconnected from any sense of morality, gets a terrifying face. Or maybe more accurately, a lack of one. Griffin is like the poster child for the mad scientist archetype. You know the type, it haunts our culture from Dr. Frankenstein all the way to today. This isn't just some quirky inventor tinkering in a lab. No, this is someone who turns knowledge into a weapon, who truly believes his own brilliance puts him above all the normal rules of humanity. So who is this guy, really? Well, Griffin is an absolute genius, a specialist in optics who pulls off the impossible. But he's not doing it for the good of mankind, not even close. He's fueled by pure rage, this deep need for revenge against a world that he thinks just never appreciated him. His moral compass is completely gone. I mean, at one point, his research leads him to steal from his own father, which then leads to the man's suicide, and Griffin feels nothing. He actually calls it foolish sentimentality. So for him, becoming invisible isn't a discovery, it's a weapon. And wow. This quote just says it all, doesn't it? This isn't just some guy hiding out. This is a man who thinks he's become a new kind of god. He declares what he calls a reign of terror, and he sees himself as the first of a new species, ready to rule society through absolute fear. The ego on this guy is just chilling. Griffin's story is just this tragic downward spiral that he brings entirely on himself. His genius gives him this incredible power, but his ego, his hubris, turns it into a tool for absolute terror. He robs people, he assaults them, he even murders, all without a second thought. But in the end, he learns a pretty brutal lesson. You can't just declare war on the whole world and expect to come out on top. The very society he hated so much eventually rises up and just destroys him. It's a powerful warning, right? Science without a conscience is just a fast track to ruin. All right, now let's jump forward 55 years. It's 1952, and author Ralph Ellison picks up that very same title, The Invisible Man, and completely flips it on its head. In this story, being invisible isn't a choice, and it is definitely not a superpower. It's a curse, handed down by society itself. And this is it. The whole game changer is right there in the opening lines of the book. The narrator's invisibility isn't a physical thing at all. He's a black man living in mid-20th century America, and he comes to this profound realization that the people all around him, well, they're so blinded by their own prejudice, they simply refuse to see him, the person. You know, what they see are their own stereotypes, their own fears, their own messed up ideas, anything and everything except for the actual human being who's standing right in front of them. His individuality, his very humanity, it's all just erased by this thick fog of racism. He's there, but he's not seen. And that, right there, is the huge difference. For H.G. Wells's Griffin, invisibility is this act of power. It's a scientific state he chooses to enter. But for Ellison's narrator, it's an act of powerlessness. It's a social condition that is brutally forced on him. So when you put these two stories right next to each other, you get this incredible exploration of power, of identity, and what it really means to be seen or not seen in this world. Yeah, looking at this really makes the contrast pop. Griffin chooses his invisibility so he can dominate everyone else. The narrator has it forced on him, and all he wants is to figure out who he is. Griffin's power comes from his physical advantage. But the narrator, and this is so interesting, he finds this strange sort of freedom in being unseen, a different kind of power in moving through a world that won't even acknowledge him. One story is this huge warning about science without a soul. The other is this deep, deep dive into social injustice. I mean, it really just boils down to this. Griffin wants to burn down a world that he feels has wronged him. Ellison's narrator, he's just trying to find his place, to understand himself in a world that acts like he doesn't even exist. It's the ultimate showdown between pure aggression and the search for oneself. So, okay, why does any of this matter today? Why do these two novels, written so far apart, still hit so hard? Well, it's because they both dig into this fundamental human need we all have, the need to be recognized, the need to be truly seen. This number, 1369, it might just look totally random, but in Allison's novel, it's incredibly important. This is the exact number of light bulbs his narrator strings up in the secret basement room where he lives. He's illegally stealing power from the grid to keep this underground space almost blindingly bright. But why? Why would an invisible man need all that light? Because in his own powerful words, light confirms my reality, gives birth to my form. Think about that. In a world that's trying to make him feel formless, that's denying he even exists, all that light is his one desperate way to prove to himself that he's real. It's just this gut-wrenching metaphor for fighting back against being erased. And that really leaves us with a huge question for our own time. These stories warn us about two ways to be invisible, one born from a monstrous ego, and the other from crushing prejudice. So I gotta ask, in our world, right now, with all our social media algorithms and our political echo chambers, who are we making invisible? Who are we choosing not to see? And what does that choice say about us?